Hey guys, today's story is the final part, the fourth part of the Wizard stories. If you haven't checked the previous three, then you might want to go check them out so you have a little bit of context. But without further ado, let's get started. Finally, the probably not at all thrilling conclusion. Here's the part where I get into all the stuff I've talked about in comments. There's a decent chance you'll find the resolution unsatisfying. Heck, I'm part of it and I do too, but this is just where we're at now. If things go to heck again, I'll be back to vent again, I'm sure. The relevant players and characters, the wizard, who was the problem player, a druid, who was the best friend of the DM, who is me, the bard, who is the druid's husband, paladin, who is a person who doesn't like RP, and warlock, who is the wizard's in real life brother, who couldn't make it this session and is new to the story, but not to our game. So the players who wanted to speak up told Wizard how they felt about what happened, in character and out. I was worried that it would come off as them bullying him, but they all handled it well. An important thing to remember is that Wizard is a good friend of all of ours. Yes, he can be unpleasant to play D&D with, but no one wanted to kick him from the group over this. They just wanted assurance that it wouldn't happen again. There was a long pause during which Wizard didn't reply. He spent this time texting with Warlock. Now, despite not being present for the events. Warlock was kept in the loop by me and Druid, and he knew what was going on. He told Wizard that things got out of hand and that he owed the group an apology. Finally, Wizard replied and apologized. Nah, just kidding. He explained again his lame, in-character reason for what happened and said that his character did the same, and asked if there was anything to do to make it right. Then he said that maybe he should sit out for a session or two because,
I guess I crossed a line I didn't realize.
He said that he's willing to accept the consequences of his actions, and that he didn't mean to hurt feelings or make the game unfun. Then he admitted that he sometimes struggles to have fun with a big group and explained that he did what he did because he was frustrated. He agreed it was a crappy way to try to resolve things in the story and that he went edgelord, although he maintains that his character didn't actually want to kill anyone. He told us he didn't want to make a new character because he feels like he tried really hard with both monk and wizard to engage and got shot down. I will note here that any player other than Druid will tell you that it was Monk who shot their characters down, and they would all agree that no one had an issue interacting with Wizard until this crap went down. Then he said, probably the first thing I agreed with, he said that we never talked about expectations up front. None of us knew what we were doing since we were all new. He held no ill will toward anyone for that. All of this is completely accurate, and I may have mentioned it in another part, but I don't remember anymore. He said that he wants more character development, and maybe our style can't give him that. He wants more character development and RP, and less combat and mechanics. He said that he wants people to ask about his backstory. I'll come back to this later. Again, I'm not a great DM, but none of the players I talk to really know what he means about needing more character development. They all feel like their characters have grown and changed as a result of character-centric stories and just events and stories that affect them. All we can figure out is that maybe character development means something different to him. In any case, if it wasn't already clear to us that Wizard just wants a different type of game than the rest of us do now, there's nothing wrong with wanting a game that is all RP, but most of us want a balance, and Paladin would prefer less RP and more combat. He told us that he felt that when he was upset in-game, he felt ignored, and that he had hoped that because we've known each other for so long, that we would have picked up on that. Privately, Warlock reminded him that we're not mind readers, and it's not fair of him to expect that. He reiterated that he might take some time off, and stated that he knows he shouldn't have lashed out in character because of his out-of-character frustration. He admitted that he screwed up and promised not to do it again. And no, he still didn't actually apologize. He wanted to make sure we were all still friends, and we assured him that we are. We said that if taking time off was what he needed to get into a good state of mind to play again, then that's what he should do. And then we considered it resolved as long as it didn't happen again, and left it alone. Except that it's not resolved. Not really. Druid and I both feel like he manipulated us in the adventure, and in the Discord channel. He wanted to make people listen to his backstory, and that's what he got. The Bard and the Warlock both shared their concern that they don't think Wizard actually understands why what he did was wrong. He knows that we're mad, so he promised not to do it again. But he never actually apologized or said anything that acknowledged what he did out of character. From what I can tell, the issue is twofold. The first part is as simple as the fact that the Wizard doesn't want the same kind of game that the rest of us do. From conversations with Warlock, it sounded like the Wizard wants to play Adventure Zone or Critical Role, and we're just not that. I'm not Matt Mercer, and I never will be. The second issue is that Wizard doesn't seem to be willing to be a team player. The players and the characters need to work together, and he has proven himself to be more interested in forcing the group to explore his backstory than in playing the game and story that the others are playing. People knowing his backstory is really important to him, and it's unclear to us if he means in character or out. But either way, it doesn't quite make sense. If he wants people to know his backstory out of character, he should share it like everyone else does. And if he wants them to know in character, he should bring things up naturally in character. It makes no sense for the other characters to pry into someone's past when they've given them no reason to. As far as we can tell, this was the motivation for the antics that kicked all this off. If he did something really wild, he had to talk about his backstory, and then they had to ask for more details, right? It was a shortcut to the gradual reveal the others have given as their character have gotten to know each other. So where it stands now, Wizard may or may not take time off from the group. No one is forcing him, but Druid and I both think that it would be for the best. If or when he comes back, he'll supposedly avoid doing anything like this again. But we're all honestly pretty pessimistic about that. I intend to make it clear that a second chance doesn't mean that there will be a third, and even though we love him as a friend, if Wizard can't play with the group, he needs to just hang out with us outside of D&D. I didn't go into as much detail in all the conversations as I could have, but this has dragged on long enough. I hope that you've enjoyed reading this train wreck, and that your weeks have been less stressful than mine. Wish me luck. Well guys, I mean, compared to a lot of the other stories I've done, this was fairly tame, but I have had kind of the same issues as this guy has. One important thing seems to be is that they're keeping it primarily to the game only. It seems like they're willing to not bring this out of game and start hating on this guy as an individual, which I've had people do in the past to other players that I've DM'd for and whatnot. It is something that happens, unfortunately, even if they've been friends for more years than you have fingers on both of your hands. And this story does bring up a very good point for any players or people that want to be players for a D&D session, that if you have a backstory, bring it up at some point, in character or even out of character. Don't let people guess it, because when it comes down to it, from my history as a DM, a lot of people are not going to ask you what your backstory is, and if they do, most of what they're going to remember is little bulletin points. They're not going to remember your whole tragic backstory of how your mommy and pappy were killed, and how your sister was kidnapped by a great evil lich, and blah-de-blah-de-blah. You get the point. But in any case, guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have a story that you'd like me to narrate, let me know. And as always, thanks for watching, and have a good one.